Okay. I have 10 o'clock Eastern time, so we're going to go ahead and get started and make sure everyone stays on track today. Well, hello, everyone. Hello, Purdue Extension. Thank you for making time to join in this Outlook Tips and Tricks webinar this morning. We have quite a few people sign up, so we'll probably have a lot more people joining in, but they'll get here right at the good part. So I'm Ryan Weinkoop. I'm one of the Extension IT specialists. I focus more on educational technology and tools that we have available to us as Purdue Extension professionals that we can use in our work. And certainly one of those tools we have available to us that we use a lot is Outlook, because we're all on email all the time. So we're going to talk about Outlook today. Before we get too much further, though, I am going to let Sam McCollum introduce himself. He's going to be my co-host and partner in crime today. So Sam, go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name's Sam McCollum. I'm from Floyd County. I'm the 4-H educator, I'm glad to be here to help.
So Sam will be on. He'll be sharing some tips and presenting a few things that he uses Outlook for, but we'll also be monitoring the chat back and forth and sort of being a room host and things like that. So if you have any questions, let us know. So before we get too much further, we are going to make sure we're all on the same page as far as the presentation today. So remember, you've all done a great job. I think you're set to mute upon entry. So please keep yourself muted throughout the webinar. We're going to have quite a few people on. I think we had almost 50 people register. Not all of them will show up, but we'll still have quite a few people in this room, so it can get noisy if you have feedback from your phone and things like that. So please keep yourself muted. You are welcome to unmute yourself if you want to ask questions. We certainly encourage that. You can also ask questions in the chat. This webinar is being recorded. I started recording it a little bit ago, so don't say anything that might incriminate yourself, because it will be shared widely. And then also, we want you to share ideas in this webinar. I am not an Outlook wizard. I will tell you that right now. I don't know everything about Outlook. We just use it a lot. And so this is about sharing ideas. We all use Outlook all the time. Certainly someone here knows something that I don't, and I'm going to share some of the things that I use Outlook for and how I use it. So this is about sharing your ideas, and we really want you to share those. Some of you sent ideas in advance. That's great. I might call on you throughout the presentation. Otherwise, at the end of this, we'll have time for questions and answers and people to share ideas. So please don't be shy about pitching in ideas. Okay. So today we have just a few objectives. This webinar might not take the whole hour. I don't think it will. It just depends on how much discussion we have and ideas you have to share, but it should be rather short. So we're just going to start out by talking about how we're using email and Outlook sort of in our work. And then we'll take a look at some of the features of Outlook that will help us be a little more efficient. And like I said, I'll share some, Sam will share some, you've all shared ideas, so that's when we'll talk about that. And then we'll get to our idea sharing. I'm going to put a link in the chat now so that you can all get familiar with where the chat is. I've already put most of these tips in a blog post on the EdTech blog this morning, so they're all listed there, and I also have links to some additional support materials and resources for each of the tips that walks you through step-by-step on how to do them. So I'm going to demonstrate some stuff today. Today is not really about you grasping, how to do something specifically. We'll go through some mouse clicks and share our screens and talk about how to do some things, but today is more about showing what Outlook can do and how it can help us. So if you do want to see something demonstrated again, we're happy to do that. But this link I just put in the chat does have specific links to step-by-step instructions on how to do most of these things. Extension educators and specialists, you have access to lynda.com, which has videos available for you about Outlook. County staff, you don't have access to Outlook, but all of those links that I shared with you shows the exact same thing. So that's why I split that up. Any questions so far? Anyone have any issues with sound or anything? Okay, so to kick us off, I want to know in the chat, tell us, how are you using email or Outlook? You can feel free to unmute yourself too, but I'd like to get familiar with the chat. How are you using Outlook and email? It's not a trick question. Just want to know how people are using Outlook and email.
Chat can also be found on the, with where everything's being displayed. If you move your mouse down to the bottom, it'll be the little box there. You can also find most of your, muting and video options down there as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Getting some feedback so far. So office correspondence, invites to meetings, calendar feature, primary communication, communicate information, scheduling meeting locations. Yeah. Meetings, calendar, email. Okay. Calendar, action steps. Perfect. Good. Okay. So here's another question for you. How are others using Outlook and email? Yeah. Send information. Other people don't know. Great. Yep. That's why you're here, Joyce. Anyone else have any other feedback on how they think other people are using scheduling events and meetings? Yep. So we're using it a lot for communication, and you mentioned that. So you're using it for emails, a lot of emails, and it's a certainly email tool. But I think a lot of people are using it, obviously, to communicate. But we're going to talk about some tips and tricks and ways you can use it to do things other than that. And so a lot of people talked about scheduling meetings and things like that. But before we get too far, so some of this is about email management and how you use email. Everyone works differently, of course. So some of these things I talk about how I use it. Again, this is where we want you to share. So we're just going to jump right into some Outlook tips and tricks right now. And I think we talked about communication. So you all shared how you use it and how others use it. And to me, it seems like other people are just using it for instant messaging, and email is not instant messaging. So if you are, I often find myself caught in this back and forth rapid fire email conversation chain, and then before you know it, there's like 20 emails in my inbox. So email is not instant messaging. So a lot of people say, I have too many emails. Well, it could be how we're using it, or it could be how others are using it, right? So if you have a quick question or you want to find an answer, use the phone. That's what the phone is for. It's for immediate response. We also have other tools available to us like Skype for Business or Slack. So let's all help each other out by not using email for instant messaging, okay? That's just my quick tip. So our first tip we're going to talk about today is our email signature. So you've probably all seen everyone has an email signature at the bottom of their email, so you know who you are. We actually have a suggested template for email signatures that a lot of people might not know about. I am going to put this link in the chat for you. That way you can click on it and follow along if you'd like. Yeah, that should work. So this is the recommended template that we use, and you can see a picture of it here on the right-hand side. You know, there really shouldn't be any more information in your email signature than what would be on your business card. I know we like to use it as sort of our personal billboard. We like to have lots of different colors and lots of links to websites and things like that. But keep it professional and keep it short. And I really recommend that you use this email signature template, so that way we can all kind of match and people will know, oh, hey, they work for Purdue Extension. Here's an example of mine. I'm using the 150th anniversary recommended template that they sent out a couple months ago. So that's what I'm using right now, but it's nice and clean. That has an extension website, but you can use either. So you can use that one or you can use this one for now, whichever you prefer. But take a look at that link there and it shows you how to create your email signature. Next tip is folders and rules. So how many of you can type in the chat, yes or no, how many of you knew that you could use Outlook to automate the sorting of your email? Okay, easy. Okay, perfect. Awesome. So I did forget to mention, we will be flipping back and forth between the presentation and Outlook. Both Sam and I will be kind of flipping back and forth. So if you get a little nauseous, just look away and we'll tell you when we're going to switch. But I'm going to show you some right now how we can use folders and rules. So you've probably seen on the left-hand side, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now, actually. you've probably seen in the left-hand side that there's a bunch of folders that you can use. Nope, I don't want to do that one. I want to do this one. There we go. Bunch of folders that you can create. So you can create folders for whatever you need to, however you need to create those. But then once you've created folders, you can actually create rules that will automatically sort your email. And basically, you can create rules for, I've got a few suggestions here. Oops, there we go. You can create rules to sort your email into things that you want to read later, to program registrations, things you need to follow up with later. Sam has a few things he created folders for, he just started using yesterday, but it's about automation. So it can help make us more efficient in our email. So I'm going to show you a few things, and I'm going to demonstrate to you right now what that would look like in action. So let me go back here to my...
Okay, I was going to say, I didn't know if you had
Yep.
moved away from it or not.
Yep, so I'm back in my email here. So you can see this morning a bunch of you logged into the webinar here. And so I set up Zoom. When I use Zoom to do webinars like this, I register just so I have an idea who's attending. But I get an email every single time that someone registers. So you can see it gets a lot of email. So what I'm going to do, and so you can also do this with things like Qualtrics. If you use Qualtrics for event registration, you can do this in a similar way, and I've done it with that too. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a folder, and to do that, all you have to do is hover over your name right here in your email. You can right-click, and you'll see New Folder. So I'm just going to create a folder that says webinars. Okay, and so I can drag any folder in here I want that's about webinars, but I specifically want to create one about Outlook. So you can create a subfolder. So I'm going to click another new folder, and I'm going to call this one Outlook. Okay, so what I could do is every time an email comes in, I get that little alert, and I say, oh, there's another email, someone registered. I can click, and I can drag it and drop it into Outlook. That can get cumbersome, and you can get behind quickly. What we're going to do is create a rule. So we'll automatically take all those emails related to my meeting registration for Outlook tips and tricks. It'll automatically put it in that folder, and I don't have to worry about it being in my inbox. I can go check it later. So rules are simple. You can, and I do have the directions to this on that blog article that I shared. So we're going to right-click, and on the email, if you go down to rules, so we're going to click Create Rule. And so now you have a few options here. You can do, so when I get an email from this, any of these, I want it to do something. So in this case, anytime I get an email that has the subject meeting registration, Outlook tips and tricks, because they all have that, I'm going to automatically move that to the folder I just created up here in webinars. I'm going to automatically move it to Outlook. So you just click where you want it to go to and click OK. And it'll ask me, do you want to run this rule now? So I'm going to run it now so you can see what that looks like. So automatically all those emails are gone from my inbox. They're over here in this Outlook folder. I can still go look at them. If I've unread them, it still shows that unread number there. That way I don't forget to look at it. But even older ones that I had, so yesterday some people registered, last week people registered, it takes all of them, puts them in there. They're out of my inbox. I don't have to worry about them. They're not cluttering it up. So you can do that. So for example, if you use Qualtrics for event registrations and you have it set to email notify you that someone's registered, you can actually take those emails and have them automatically go to a folder in Outlook so that it doesn't cloud your inbox as well. Sam, do you want to talk about some of the folders you created and how you're using the folders and rules?
Yeah, I actually just learned about the whole creating rules yesterday, and they're, everyone gets spam, right? So my favorite aspect of the rule is when I created a rule, I created a folder that just said unimportant. And you can create a rule every time you get a spam, whether it's from Cisco or Pinterest or whatever random newsletter that you accidentally may have signed up for. You just create that rule and it will automatically shift it into that unimportant folder, which is fantastic because then you don't have to just get there that day and go, oh my gosh, I have 50 emails, and then you have 25 of them that you see are spam and you have to spend time doing that. You can do that with individuals. So like if you get an email that's primarily from a corporation board president, or from somebody that specifically sends you something all the time about one certain thing, you can create a folder for that. Or if you're an educator, you can create a file that just says Area 2 educators, and every email you get from those educators goes right into that folder. Now, it'll be a little difficult at first, because when you first log into Outlook, you're not going to see everything in inbox. All right. It will be spread out in all of those files. So you got to make sure when you first start doing it to check on those files on the left-hand side to see if there's any unread messages in there. So if you've done it for a while like that, then it could get a bit confusing, but you'll eventually kind of fall into the groove of things. So it became a huge help for me, especially dealing with the 1 or 2 emails I get from Cisco about spam, or my Pinterest emails, or that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and so once you've created folders, you can actually reorganize them however you want to. So I sort of alphabetize these, but if there's a folder that I know, for example, if I currently have a program registration out and open in Qualtrics, and I'm going to get those emails, and I want to make sure I'm keeping up with it. So for example, like this Outlook webinar, I can actually drag this folder up here to favorites, so that it always shows up here in my favorites when I log in, so that way I don't have to sort through all my folders. I'll always see it up here. And then when I'm done, after the event has happened or whatever, I can just take it and I can just right-click and I can just remove it.
And there's an option that you can make a rule for emails that make different sounds, but that you can play with that. That way, if you have an email that is coming from someone that you don't want to talk to necessarily, and you're just working on something and it makes a specific ding, then you won't get distracted and look over at your other screen or any of that kind of stuff. So that way you know what's coming from. So there's a lot of cool steps that you can do with rules.
Another thing you can do is you can kind of help sort your email automatically by using some categories. And I think some people shared some tips about categorizing. So for example, here, if you look up here, you've probably seen the categorize button. If you click on it, you can create your own categories. It comes up with some pre-made things, but you can create your own categories. And so what I have is I created a folder called Tech Questions, because I get a lot of questions from people about technology. And I want to just keep those. That way I can kind of have a record of what I've answered. And so recently, Mark Evans shot me an email yesterday and was asking about Qualtrics help. And so I responded to it and everything. And so that's a tech question. And so I've created a quick rule that will automatically categorize and organize that email when I'm done with it. So I'm done with it. All I have to do, I created a tech question category. I just click on it. It categorizes as a tech question, and it moved it to that tech question folder. So all my tech questions are categorized blue. You can pick any color you want, but it just kind of keeps it. If there's emails that you want to keep, you want to keep those receipts, it helps you organize that. So that's just quick folders and rules. There's just some ways you can use it. There's obviously a lot more you can do, a lot more features, but we're just going to do a high-level intro just to get you started. So next thing we're going to talk about is, go back to my slides here. So next thing we're going to talk about, have you ever accidentally sent a message you didn't mean to, or sent a message you probably shouldn't have? Anyone ever done that? I have. So there's a couple things you can do in Outlook. Outlook maybe can save you, maybe can't. So you've probably gotten a message before that says message recall. Sender wants to recall the message they just sent. And so basically what that does is it retrieves that message. But it's really not that helpful because, first of all, message recall only works. So let's pretend you sent an email out to a listserv that you didn't mean to send out. Message recall, first of all, only works if someone hasn't opened the message yet. So if a person hasn't checked their email and the message hasn't been read, it'll take it out of their inbox. If they've already opened it, or if it's been opened, they've seen the message, it's too late, sorry. But it also, message recall only works if you and the recipient are all within the same organization. So a message recall will only work to other people in the Purdue system. So if you sent that fiery email to a county commissioner and you decided you shouldn't have sent it, you're not going to be able to recall that one. So just think happy thoughts and hope everything works out. So message recall is a feature that's available. It depends on, it's not used often, but just so you're aware that it won't always recall every message that you've sent. Delay delivery is sort of similar, can also sort of help you out. One good tactic, if you have a particular email that you need to send out that you're angry about, to write it and just keep it in your drafts and then come back to it later. But you can also delay delivery of messages. And so you can delay message delivery for an individual message, or you can delay delivery on every single email you write all the time. So I think someone, Joyce, shared that she uses delay delivery in a unique way to help keep her up to date and remind her about messages. Joyce, would you be willing to share real quick? If not, that's okay. Let's see here. Let me find my email. But delay delivery is pretty simple. When you have a new email and you're writing it, if you go up to options, so when you're writing your message, you're typing things, look up here in options. There's this delay delivery button. Oh, Joyce doesn't have a microphone. That's okay. I'll read what you wrote then. So there's a delay delivery option. When you click on it, you can actually set when you want it to be delivered. So you can have the message not be delivered before a certain date or time. It can expire after a certain time. And so you can delay this to be delivered to specific contacts. You can hit send. It'll stay in your outbox until that particular time. So, if you've got this email and you sent it, you can delay the delivery for an hour, and you could say, oh, shoot, I meant to put that in an email. You can still go back and edit that message, and then you can send it out. So that's just another tactic that you might be able to use to help you out. So let me get actually, Joyce, here's Joyce's email right here. So she uses email to remind herself of upcoming meetings and webinars. So she'll create a new Outlook email to be sent to herself with a reminder in the subject box, and then does the delayed delivery to have it scheduled to be set approximately half hour to an hour before the meeting or the webinar is about to start. So she's using the delayed delivery to create an email to email herself to remind her. So that's one way you could use delayed delivery. But another way you can set reminders for yourself is to use the reminder feature that is available in Outlook. So you can actually set tasks and reminders. So the one good way to use this, we can use this on the sender and the receiver end. So I think we've all probably received that email that says, per my last email. I think we all know that that's just a professional way of saying, didn't you read the email I already sent, idiot? So there's ways we can avoid those. So we always say, when did you need that, or when does that due, or what's the deadline for that? Those are all completely avoidable emails if you use the tasks and reminders feature in Outlook. So when you send a message, you can actually include a task. I sent in the email reminder with this, I sent a task attachment to it. So some of you might have seen in your email, if you look in your tasks, there might be a reminder in there to attend this webinar. Did anyone get that? Did anyone get a reminder in Outlook to attend this if you didn't set it up? Yeah, so you can actually, I attached that to demonstrate it as a feature. So you can go in there and, if you have an email saying, we'd like feedback on this, please do it by Friday at 5 p.m. You can actually attach a task to that message, say, remind the person at noon on Friday to respond to this email, and send it, and they'll get a reminder at noon to remind them to respond to that email. You can also simply take an email and drag and drop it to your task list. Yeah, so Tammy received so I think I set it just as a reminder and not as an actual task. So you can just attach a reminder instead of, you can do either or. So I'll demonstrate that. Thanks for letting me know, Tammy. That's a good point. So you can do it through the tasks, or you can just drag and drop an email. So let me show you what that looks like. Oop. Go back to a new share here. So when you are sending an email, you can type out your email, whatever it is you need to do, and up here in the big message option bar, menu bar here, you see a follow-up. If you click on that, you can add a reminder. So you can add it as a task, or you can add just simply as a reminder. That's what I did. I did it yesterday. I can't remember what I did. So I can add a reminder. You can flag it for yourself, or you can flag it for the recipients, and you can change it to whatever you want to do. So I said attend webinar. Let me type that right. Attend webinar. Click the reminder. You can choose what day and time you want that person to receive the reminder so that they'll remember to do it. click OK. So it says recipients will receive this reminder. Do whatever you do, send it just like normal. That's it. They'll get a reminder to help remind them that they need to do that. Another way you can remember to do things. For example, I just reserved a room in a Video Express room yesterday for next week or 2 weeks on the 17th. So this is in my email. By 2 weeks from now, this is going to be buried. I'm going to forget about it. And so what you can actually do is you can take this and you can drag it down here. If you look at the bottom, there's these options. There's the calendar, there's the contacts, there's the tasks. So you can actually take an email. You can drag it down to the task box here. Let me bring this over. I got to do a new share here. Share this. Oops, there we go. Just a second. So it'll actually bring up this email, and I need to remember to go do this. So I'm going to remind myself on the 16th at 3:30 p.m. that I need to remember to go to the Video Express room on the 17th. So you can just click that, save and close, it's done. Oops, did that. So I closed that window out, so we put that back up. So you can actually, so if you ever get an email where you're like, oh, I need to respond to that, you can create a task and it'll remind you to do it so you don't forget. And then again, as the sender, you can also send tasks to people so that they don't forget. So you won't need to send those per my last email messages with the deadline that was already listed. Any questions on that? All right. And the last big thing we're going to show today is how to schedule meetings and appointments. And so Sam's going to talk a little bit about this, but we already mentioned a lot of us are using Outlook to schedule meetings and appointments. I think this is, we get calendar invites, but I think there's a lot of other features we could be using that would help us. So as I just showed you, in creating a task, a reminder for an email, you can do the same thing with a calendar invite or with a meeting invite. So if you have, an email from someone that says, hey, we should schedule a meeting, blah, 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 you can click and drag that email to your calendar tab at the bottom, and then you can actually create a meeting or calendar event invite from that. And it'll have that email in there so you have all your information. I'll demonstrate what that looks like. There's also appointment attachments in email. I can show you what that looks like. That makes it easy to add events to your calendar. But the scheduling assistant is what I want to talk about. So you can actually use, there's a feature called scheduling assistant in Outlook, so you can see everyone's calendar and when they're free and available. Now, of course, this only works if everyone's calendar is up to date. So if you aren't updating your Outlook calendar, try to start doing that, because it will be incredibly helpful to all of us, because we can see when you're free or available and we can schedule meetings easier. I might not want to make it easier to schedule meetings, but it makes it easier for everyone. So here's a screenshot I took. I just made a simple scheduling assistant. I used it to schedule a meeting with myself, Krista Farthing, and Greg Lindberg, just as an example. And so this meeting is on Monday, January 21st. And you can see here they have their calendars updated. So the blue times is when people are busy. And so, for example, I could schedule a meeting at 8 or 9 or 10 to 10:30 or noon. Any of these times I can see when they're free or available. And so it makes it easier than the constant email back and forth or a, what's the, I just had brain fart. What's the system we use to?
People like to use doodle polls.
Doodle polls, yeah. So it avoids a doodle poll. It avoids, 25 emails back and forth saying, I'm free this day, this time, blah, blah, blah. So it's a lot easier. It makes it a little more efficient for everyone. I could show you real quick where to find that. And again, I do have the link to this in that blog article, but we can demonstrate it again. So to do this, when you're in your email here, you can go up here to New Items. There's multiple ways to do this, but this is just the way I'm going to show you. You go to New Items, and then go to Meeting. Let me bring this over here. And so basically, it'll open up a meeting just like you're going to schedule a meeting or create one for yourself. So you put in your recipients. So I'm just going to use Sam. I'm going to put the scheduling assistant. So see here, it brings up our schedule. So if I wanted to schedule another meeting here today with Sam, it looks like we're both available at 1 o'clock. I could schedule a meeting with him. Or you just go to your meeting date and time, far out. We can pick and see when people are available. It will show, when there's conflicts. If you have multiple people here, it'll show if there's conflicts or not. So it helps you kind of figure out the best time to meet. Once you've done that, you can then schedule that meeting. You can put any information you need in here, change the date and time, all that stuff, and send it, and you're good to go. I'm going to delete that so I don't invite Sam to a meeting. Share this back. Sam, do you want to talk about how you use calendars in your office?
Yeah, I can do that. No problem. Okay, so I guess I need to share my stuff down here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, it popped up for you guys because I can't see it on mine.
Yep, we're good.
Okay, so you can see my calendar. Obviously, some of the cool things with calendar sharing is if you haven't shared your calendar with your office staff or an educator hasn't done it yet, my advice is to do it. That way they have access to your calendar. It doesn't have to be, to the full extent of seeing everything on there. Being able to color code's also very important. That way you can see on there what is important for your work or what is important in personal life or any of that kind of stuff. So really simple to share a calendar. All you really have to do is click the button that just says share calendar, if it works for me. And then you can just simply add the people that you want to share the calendar with into it, just like you're sending an email. And then you can tell them whether you have availability only, limited details, or full details. I had a difficult situation in which I could not share my calendar with a staff member. For some reason, I would just get a random error from the server. So there are workarounds with that kind of thing. All right. One of the things that you can do is go up here to calendar permissions, and you can add your office staff or your educators or your coworkers or anyone else that is possibly could access your that you want to access your calendar to a certain extent. All right, you can give them absolutely no access. If you don't want people seeing anything that you got going on. I'm sorry, my Alexa is talking to me for some reason. So you can give the amount of information that you want to individuals no matter what, okay? Just hit apply and go from there. So one of the things that I actually like doing, like you used whenever you schedule an appointment, you used Office Manager Assistant, right, Ryan? One of the things that you can actually do to help with trying to figure out what other people are doing is you can actually hit the Open Calendar tab. And you can just go to your address book, and I'll just do Ryan's. So I'll find him in there. I can click calendar, it adds him to it, and hit OK, and it pulls his calendar up. Now, it doesn't give me the details. It just says when he's busy, when he's going to be out, and you can do this without getting permissions. Now, if Ryan doesn't want certain people to look at it, he can go into his permissions and then hit like none or whatever it is. So
real quick, say if someone asked a question about that, Tammy, does that answer your question? You can set your calendar individually to only show busy or free times.
Yeah. So like you found like, oh my goodness.
So Ryan, I'll just clarify. I know that that's true on the calendar, but on that scheduling assistant, like I type somebody in and it shows me everything that's on their calendar. I think that's super creepy.
So I'll go ahead, Sam.
Does it show like on mine where it just says like doctor's appointment, or does it say busy or out of office?
Let me check. I'm pretty sure it's gonna tell me what you're doing.
It depends on, so we can all individually, it depends on, if you want a person to be able to see, what every single thing you're going to, they can see, the subject of the meeting. Or if you don't, you can have it set so they can only see when you're free and available. Mm-hmm. So like back on, I'm going to share my screen real quick, Sam, so don't forget to share yours back. Oops, let me share here. Maybe. No.
Do I need to stop mine?
There we go. Let me try again here. No. Oh, there we go. Okay. So for example, here on the screenshot I showed you, Krista and Greg both have their set so that others can only see free and available time. So I know that Krista has a meeting at 10:30 a.m. on Monday, January 21st, but I don't know what it is. So it just depends. You individually just need to make sure you have the permissions set.
So mine might be set at full detail. So if you were to look mine up, you might be able to see everything I got on my calendar.
Okay, like Sam, I can see on Friday you have a junior leader retreat at 8 a.m.
Yes, that's because I have mine set at full details. So when I do that, that's just in general. So if I go to, if I go back into that options, I can just hit free or busy time.
Sam, show your screen again. We have some people.
Oh,
Okay, yeah. Where were the options at? Sorry.
Sorry, no, you're okay. Let me reshare everything here. Okay, is it back? It's back.
Is everyone who's having screen sharing issues okay now? Sam is sharing his calendar.
All right. So, I mean, you can see all my stuff now. I'm okay with that. But if you go up to just calendar permissions,
okay.
And there's a default, okay? So anybody that wants to do it, you can set it as free busy time with subject or locations, you know, or you can go to full details. Okay, so if I just click free busy time and hit apply, it should take away what you're able to see to the point to where if you see Ryan's over here, it just says busy, tentatively busy, or out of office. So it should just give you the basics of all that. Now you can set it up to each specific person in there. So like if I have Diane, which is one of my office assistants, I give her the access to full details. I allow her to see everything. I can even allow her to edit things on my calendar if she needs to. So at the top, it'll say default custom. That's pretty much when you want it to be free, busy time. And then people will see that you're busy or free or you're out of the office, but it won't give them the full details that you have something going. It shouldn't. Let's just say that.
Sam, I just looked at your calendar, and all I can see now on your calendar is that you're busy or free.
Yeah. So, like, if you set it at default at full detail, it will give those details. So, like I said, being able to pull up somebody's calendar so you can kind of see it all, that helps also. But it doesn't quite go into their full, like, I've got a doctor's appointment, you know, or whatever. It's that kind of stuff. So that was one of the things that it's kind of a workaround. I had Diane, one of my office staff, do that, but I set her on my permissions to see almost all of my information because I couldn't send her a share for some reason. I got some weird errors. So I gave her permission to see my calendar. So then she opened it up and is able to see everything that's going on. So does that make sense on that?
Yes, thank you. That makes way more sense.
And it makes you feel a little more like Big Brother's not watching you, you know?
Yeah, totally. That was just strange.
So that's a feature a lot of people don't know about. And so, you know, like if people don't have their default set to, you know, if they want free or busy or whatever. So like there's a lot of people, we can see what they're up to.
Yeah. Most of them are set on like, because Ryan, I'm pretty sure you may have, I mean, I don't know if you did it. Most of them should be set on default to where it's just limited. Some people like me, I did set mine on full details, and then people can access my entire calendar of seeing what's going on. So, you know, I don't have anything to hide, I guess, but that's kind of one of the easier ways to do it. If you want other educators to be more aware of what's going on and that kind of stuff. So that's what I've got with it. Always be aware of your calendar permissions. Okay. You don't want to do that. So I think that's what I got on.
Yeah. So yeah, and going on with that, remember, you know, this is a valuable tool for us to schedule meetings. I used it. I was trying to schedule a webinar with 7 other people a couple months ago, and I just went in and used Scheduling Assistant, and lo and behold, the next week there was a 1-hour slot where all 7 of us were actually available. So I scheduled it during that time, and someone replied back, "Oh, well, I'm out of the office on that day or time." I'm like, "Oh, well, if your calendar had been updated, we wouldn't have that problem." So updating your calendar is very important.
Yeah, and it makes it a little easier because you just got to scroll through and find out where there's no blue mark at the top, and you go, "Oh, everyone should be available at that time." Send out an email or send out the invite, and everyone should be good to go. Doodle's a good tool, but it can be a lot easier if you just do it. I can't say a lot easier for some people. Sometimes it's not, but this can be very helpful. All right, what we got next? I think I'm done. Right?
Yeah.
On this end.
Thanks.
Unless anyone has any questions about calendar sharing or anything like that, I can answer those.
Megan Hofer, Megan, are you able to unmute yourself and talk, or? It looks like. Oh, there you go. Go ahead.
Okay. I just found that anytime I've tried to share my calendar through the Outlook, I've had to use Internet Explorer webmail for it to actually go through. I've gotten error messages. And I'd actually talked to Ag IT about it, and they said it was an issue that they are aware of, but that's how I've always had to do it.
So I would get some of the errors too. Let's say if I I'm going to send it back to one of my support staff. If I send it a lot of times, I get that wonderful error. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Any of those? Yeah, I don't know. That could be, I've looked up numerous things trying to figure that problem out. That's when I discovered the new roundabout way of just going into your permissions and then adding a person. So if you go into calendar permissions, click add, and then you can type in people that you know from your address book. So just type in Ryan.
You want to share your screen, Sam?
Oh, it isn't shared? I thought it was shared.
I shared back.
Oh, goodness.
Sorry. So Megan, you said Ag IT said that was a known issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are some issues when they did the server upgrades. There's still some things that they're still working on. Upgrading that caused some issues. So they're still working at upgrading that. In the future, it should work fine. But yeah, you might for now have to go through those workarounds, like going through internet or going through Outlook. So it just depends on the situation right now, unfortunately.
And she's my office staff member. She's the only one I can't share my calendar with. I can share it with just about anybody else except her for some weird reason. So if you need to, just like I said, go into your calendar permissions in your calendar home file or home tab, and then you just hit add. I'll just add, say, Ryan in there. Did I misspelled your name? And then you just click the add button and hit OK. Then you can click on his name and then just give the free or busy times and then apply it. And then once you do that, they can, if it's somebody in your office, you can be like, listen, just go in there and hit the open calendar, and then they should be able to pull up your information, and it should update pretty regularly.
So question and comment from Lisa. So does Assistant work for those who use Outlook but not on the Purdue system? I don't think so, because we're all connected. We're all part of the Purdue.edu email address. I've never tried inviting anyone from a different institution through Scheduling Assistant because it won't be in our address book. So unfortunately, it's not super helpful. People outside Purdue.
I believe it will work with outside, like, if you're using like Hotmail or anything like that actually uses an Outlook operating system, we'll just call it that. It should work through that because it has pretty much kind of the same thing that Microsoft is pretty much anything that Microsoft uses it'll be able to utilize it that way.
And Lisa also said they encountered the sharing issue as well, and Daniel at Ag IT was great at helping with shared calendars. So if you do have issues with shared calendars, do contact Ag IT and they'll be able to help you out. We did have one question earlier about talking more about the follow-up. So Sam, you want to stop sharing and I'll share my screen back. I'm going to share my, oops, wrong one. Here we go. So more about the follow-up. So for example, talked about, I got that email from Mark about Qualtrics, and say I hadn't responded to it. I'll go back to my tech questions folder. Let's say I got that email and I hadn't responded to it yet, but I know I needed to. I can click the follow-up button and I can just say, respond to this tomorrow, and it'll remind me automatically tomorrow. It'll just bring that email back up and it'll say, don't forget about this. I can also, if I wanted to, again, I can just set that reminder. I can flag to follow up, and I can pick the day and time and the reminder, so I can use it so it'll say, hey, you know, don't forget about this email, you need to respond to it, or hey, follow up with this person. And so it'll just automatically do that. It depends on how you do it. So like right now, I do have the red flag here. So if I go down here in the bottom, if I look here, you see the task button here. It should show up. I go here. So you see, I've got some other things that I flagged here. I was playing around with tasks and I sent a task. You can also assign tasks to people. So I assigned a task to Krista Farthing to bring me donuts. I spelled it wrong. I was just playing with it. So you can assign tasks to people and it'll pop up for them. And so she got a task reminder that said, bring Ryan donuts. So if you need other people to do things for you, it's a sneaky way to remind them to do it. But you can see here, I flagged that email from Mark about Qualtrics help. No, Megan, she didn't bring me donuts, and I am offended. But you can flag these emails and respond to them, and it shows up in your task list here. So, Walt, does that answer your question? Do you have any other specific questions? And this is just another trick. Yeah, great. That I do. You can collapse these, and so that's why my email inbox looks so clean, because I collapse these down so that it's not so like full and intimidating. So I just kind of hide them. So that's just another trick that I use. But okay, other questions or ideas people want to ask or share? Joel Brumley, are you still on and able to talk? Perfect.
Hey, Ryan.
Yeah.
On my Outlook, I don't have the option to collapse today or Monday like you do. Where do I find that?
Are you using it through an internet browser, or are you in actual Outlook itself?
I'm in Outlook.
You don't have the little
No.
button up there? Oh, that's interesting.
Probably some view setting. I just don't know where it is.
Could be, yeah. Okay.
I'll keep looking.
Yeah. So, Joel, do you want to, if you don't mind, sharing some of the tips and tricks you sent to me?
If I can remember them.
It's in your email. Check your outbox.
Oh, okay.
Check your sent items.
Right. Give me a second here.
Link here. I just reposted. Okay. Oh, there you go. Go ahead, Joel.
Yeah. So the first one was use your calendar and keep it populated with events. And the thing we share in our office and here in Delaware County, everybody shares, and so we can inform the public when they call, when they ask if somebody's in. We've got a couple people who work in other counties along with Delaware, and so it's nice for us to be able to say they'll be in this afternoon, or they're working up there today and tomorrow. You can contact them there, so we can speak competently about our coworkers. And another thing I do is I will try to, because I've had issues with having vacation time fall off the table. I like to look at the year in advance and tentatively schedule vacation. And then there are those issues that many of us have with requesting vacation time. I think 2 weeks in advance is what we're supposed to do. So I will code, I'll write vacation, and then I'll code it, U for unrequested, R for requested, A for approved. So I know I've requested it or I haven't. And I don't know if I need to put that it's approved, because it's always approved. At least that's been my experience. So that's really helpful for me. And then doing the reminder, giving myself a reminder, and also setting that reminder at a good time ahead. If I'm going to walk down the hallway for a meeting, a 15-minute reminder. If I'm going to be driving across town, maybe an hour reminder. And also setting the reminder for when I think it'll catch me when I'm going to be at the computer. Sometimes I'm away from the computer. If I'm not there, I don't get the reminder. So I want to set that where I know I'll be checking the computer or the smartphone. That's helpful as well. And then the last thing I wrote to you, Ryan, was that sometimes the reminder the reminders fall through the cracks. So just really first thing, if you're the type of person who's firing up your computer first thing every day, going to the calendar and just checking the schedule for the day to have in mind what's coming up. That's it.
Thanks. Anyone else have any other ideas or tips or tricks on how they use Outlook?
Hey, Ryan, I have an idea that uses a program called Calendly. It's a website that you can set it up and you can actually schedule meetings that go directly on your Outlook calendar.
Oh, cool.
Since I'm newer in this county, so I was meeting with all of our livestock superintendents individually. So I filled out the calendar and it, put potential times that they could sign up, and then they just went in and chose what time worked for them, and it went directly on my Outlook calendar.
Can you share the link to that in the chat?
Yes.
Great. That's awesome. That's a cool tool.
And one other thing that I do that helps, I like your idea with the automated sorting. I haven't tried that, but one thing that I do, I actually got from a lynda.com presentation, but and I started out having a whole bunch of different folders, and I'd put everything in them, and then I'd like forget about things or couldn't figure out where I put them. So I just have one folder that says resources, and then I take everything out of my inbox that I've done or don't need anymore and put in the resources folder, and then I can search it if I ever need to look at it again. I never delete anything. I just put it all in resources, and then I added one more that says for reference. So if I know something's coming up but I don't really need to look at it in my inbox, I put it in there so that I try to keep my inbox clearer.
Great. Yeah, that's a good idea. Anyone else? We did have some other people did submit some ideas about color coding and organizing your meetings. So I know Sam talked a little bit about color coding his meetings and things like that. I talked a little bit about organizing emails by color using the categorize feature. If it helps you, if you're managing multiple people's calendars or you're managing multiple different programs on your calendar, you want to set them to different different colors based on different things. You can do that, kind of help keep you organized as well. Was the other thing. So Megan brought up a great point about saving all your emails. So I always hear people saying, I'm almost out of space. You can see how much space you have if you go up to File and you look right here, it says Mailbox Cleanup. I have 3 gigabytes free of so we all get about 5 gigabytes. So I'm in no danger of running out. But if you are close to that and you have emails that you absolutely want to keep, you can actually convert emails to a PDF and then save them to a network folder or the cloud or a disk, whatever you want to do. So for example, let's say I've got a folder here for the virtual reality project I've been working on. And let's say I'm done with that. It's happened, it's over, and I don't worry about it anymore. You can actually right click on it, and then you can convert the entire folder to PDF. It'll convert all your messages to a PDF. You can search them then, they'll all still be there. You can go back, and then if you need a message, you can pull an individual email message out that's been converted to a PDF. So it makes it a little easier. And then you can delete that folder out of your Outlook and give you a little more space for more emails. So you can see right now it's converting this. And so I've got all my, I can show you what that looks like. So here's what that looks like. So you can see here's all the emails that were in that folder, and you can review each and every individual one of them and see. So makes it nice. Okay, Olivia, what do you got? Olivia, do you want to unmute yourself and talk about that?
Sure. Hello. Yeah, so I've color coded almost everything in my calendar. It's something that I guess it's kind of fun, but also just helps me visualize like where I have my professional development as opposed to like how much programming I'm doing. And then if we have like special extension related meetings for like the area or state, I have those marked a different color as well. Yeah, things like that. And that just helps me visualize kind of what my workflow is like and how it's broken up. so I don't overwhelm myself if I can help it.
Yeah. Great. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, another good point from Megan, auto archiving your emails. So you do, if you've ever looked in here in your Outlook, let me go back here. If you've ever looked in here, you've probably seen a folder, should be a folder, an auto archive folder somewhere. We used to have one. I don't know, too many folders to look through here. I don't know, but Outlook will archive your messages for you. So basically they're available, but they're not taking up as much space. And so that's a good feature that's available. Well, again, thank you all for making time to learn about Outlook today. I've put the link to the blog post in there. This recording will be made available. It will also be at that link, but we'll share it in the e-blog and make sure it gets out widely. So if you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to me, reach out to Sam, reach out to others in your counties or areas around you, and let's start using Outlook and make us a little more efficient. So